All right. Good morning. Welcome back. Thank you so much, Marie, for that news bulletin. Of course, right now it's 6 minutes past 7 a.m. and we just want to get into the segment of the day that is Eye on Politics. And Eye on Politics today, we are going to be talking about matters to do with the floods and the policies that we need to put in place to ensure that as a country we are adequately prepared for such kind of scenarios. Right now it's been raining, actually in Nairobi it's been raining throughout the night, so we can say that it's going to be here with us for some time. And how is it going to pan out in the days to come? The weatherman says that the rains are still going to continue, but the question is, are we prepared for that, or is it human error in some type of way? Is it a matter of preparedness and matters to do with our policies? That is why I'm in studio with my guest today. I have got Kevin Katisia, who is an advocate of the High Court as well as Speaker of the County Assembly of Kitui County. Wakili, good morning.
Good morning to you, Victor.
First of all, is Kitui okay?
Kitui, Victor, is relatively okay. We have heavy rains like the other parts of the country, but
yes,
not everywhere. Our people are relatively safe. And we expect a bumper harvest. Though I know in some parts of lower eastern, like in Makueni, there are some areas where we have mudslides. In Machakos, of course, we have seen what's happening in the river, Mavoko, those areas, Mwala. But as far as Kitui is concerned, I think we are relatively okay, apart from some few instances of carelessness, where some people maybe decide to cross a river which is very full, and sometimes they may be swept away, but everything so far is good in Kitui County. All right. Yes, and of course our Kitui County disaster response team is on high alert, and in case of any kind of a disaster or emergency, our county government has been able to respond effectively. Yes. Very good.
And of course, I also have Professor Alfred Omenya. Professor Alfred Omenya is a principal researcher, he's a consultant, as well as an environmental architect. And he's going to be talking to us matters we need to find out and what we need to work on. Prof, good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a while. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been quite some time.
Right?
Yeah, very, very, very happy to be back here.
Good to see you as well.
Unfortunately, under these distressing circumstances.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Does it stress you from your point of view?
Of course, it does stress me quite a bit, and because a lot of the things that are happening to us are really avoidable, and that is where my challenge comes in. That you know, we start asking ourselves that why can't we be able to do simple things that can be able to, you know, help us mitigate and adapt to these occurrences that happen, you know, literally every year.
Okay. Before I get into that, you can talk to us. I don't know what's your social media handle, Prof?
It is Eomenya.
Eomenya?
That is the one, that is Twitter?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Katisia?
Kevin Katisia.
Kevin Katisia.
Yes.
Please talk to us. Mine is at Victor Law. We just talk to us. Which part of the country are you? How are you affected? I have a couple of friends who, some of them could not make it actually on set because they are directly affected because of the floods. For example, what happened in Maimahi, some of their kin actually are still missing to date. And somebody will ask you, how did 2-ton, 3-ton, 5-ton boulder make it all the way from uphill downstream? You know, this place for years on end was a village, and all of a sudden it's marooned. So some of the families are still missing as we speak and directly affected. We just hope that Kenyans are going to be safe in as much as we speak this one. But Katiza, let me just ask you this question. So we have been talking about Kenyans be careful, Kenyans let's be responsible, but where are we missing that mark, you know, in terms of responsibility? There's a very thin line between responsibility and just making things right. Yes.
I think everything, Victor, will and all the responsibility lies on the leadership which we have as a country, because you know, as ordinary Kenyans, we all depend on our leaders to show us the way. That's what many people say. Yeah, if it is a matter of preparing for this kind of disasters, every ordinary Kenyan will expect the leaders to show the way. And as Professor said, it is so unfortunate that we are finding ourselves in this situation, even after early warnings. Sometimes last year, I think around June, July, I think the Meteorological Department give these warnings, And I think some leaders did not take them seriously. And it is very unfortunate that we are now trying. I saw, I think, in the papers that the national government is asking for around, is it 10 billion in the budget to help deal with this current situation. And the question would be, what was the government planning to do before all this happened? Because it's a matter of planning. And I think even as ordinary Kenyans, we also need to plan adequately for these kind of situations. Because if you look at what happened in Maimayu, talking of more than 60 people dying,
yes,
I think it's a very heavy matter, Victor. And also other parts of the country, more than 20 people have died, and others have been injured. Others have been displaced. We wonder for how long will this continue happening. It has happened before, yeah, and it is already happening again, and it will also happen again tomorrow. So I think it's a matter of now trying to come up with long-term plans on how to deal with these situations. Because if we talk of a budget, 10 billion for a short-term plan, yeah, what about tomorrow? You know, if you plan for short-term plans, you know, you're not able to even be economical in the manner in which you are using your finances. So I think it's a matter, as you have said in your opening remarks, we need to come up with proper policies, proper laws on how to effectively deal with this kind of situations.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, Prof, let's just put this clearly. Katisa has talked about 60 people. Think of 60 people. I mean, it might sound so simple as we speak about here, but when you go on the ground and see 60 people put together, 1 minute there were families going about their business, but all of a sudden, 60 people lined up dead.
Right.
I mean, we can all picture that. And now get the whole intensity of the scenario we are in as a country. Don't you think the government ought to have done something better than just saying 60 people died, 20 people so far dead, and life goes on?
Yeah, Victor, really it is very sad. I think I've said it over and over again that we need to have a leadership that is sensitive to the lives of the citizens. I think some of this leaves me to really wonder whether our leaders care. And you see this not just with these flood disasters. We see this whether it's fires have happened, whether it's road accidents and so on. In fact, even political riots. Kenyans seem to be just mere numbers. Elsewhere, you know, in slightly civilized countries, if one person died, just one person, I'm telling you, a minister will be resigning. It will be that serious, especially if it is based on human error. But we've seen what is happening in social media. Yes, of course, some of those are natural calamities that you can do nothing about, but a lot of them are preventable. It is people who are living in places where they should not have lived in. It is infrastructure giving way, and so on. And you know, what we see are just numbers. In fact, you almost think that people are happy to throw those numbers out. Or 60 people have died in Maimayu, now we are at 220 people dead. You know, next week some minister will come and say, oh, you know, it is now 300 and so on. You almost think like they're actually, it's the dance of the macabre, the dancing on the graves of the dead people, as it actually were. You don't actually see that concern and response, you know, and sort of the type of response that you'd expect, where people are actually worried, where a government is worried. Yes, government is now raising, talking about raising 20 billion. The question is, when will that 20 billion come? These floods are not going to continue for the rest of the year.
Yes.
Most likely the 20 billion will come after the floods are gone, and the next scandal. You know, 20 billion, you know, set aside for the floods have been misappropriated. Yeah. So this is my issue. That yes, I mean, there are things that government should have done that government did not do. That's granted. Secondly, we are in a problem now. We are in the height of a crisis.
Yes.
Yes, So we're not asking government at this particular point to improve infrastructure. We're not asking government at this particular point immediately to, to build roads and, dam rivers and so on. No. What we are saying is that where is government response? Actually, Red Cross and Eric Omondi are more visible than the government of Kenya. Yes, where is government? Surely you cannot tell me that government is all over the place, that government is rescuing people left, right and center, that government and nobody is seeing. Where is government while people are actually dying? This is the point. We need number one, government to take action in all these areas. Of course, we need government to be seen to be taking action. This particular government is very good on its visibility. So there's a question we're actually asking. Where is the government we elected nationally when people are dying all over the place, when bridges are being washed and so on? Why aren't we seeing government response? Of course, they also sometimes support the Red Cross and the Red Crescent, but the primary responsibility is government, and they do actually have the resources to do that. When people are being washed in Nairobi,
yes.
Mweshimiwa here, will actually tell you that there is a budget for disaster. There is actually a budget for disaster. I think it's pegged at about 5% of the county budget. Where is Sakaja and his budget? What exactly is Nairobi County doing?
Bureaucracy. It has to be a process.
Exactly. So, yeah, but you see, if my house is burning, there are two things. You can either at that particular point remember that you had not put provisions and laws that prevented the house from burning, and you start putting the laws in place, or put off the fire first, and then ask the question. Currently, what we are seeing is actually a concern, and we need to see our governments that we've elected that are using our resources. We need to see them responding, even before we start having that conversation in terms of what we need to do long term. So they're missing in terms of those long-term policies and so on. In fact, if anything, the government policies, particularly for the city of Nairobi, is part of the problem. They're the ones who are actually encouraging this mess that we're in.
I'll come back to that. But you see, all of us, we are not new in Jerusalem. We've talked about this. Anytime there's a disaster, we've talked about preparedness. There's a budget here, there's a budget there, policies. We are all new in Jerusalem. But, Wakili, make me understand. So what are these policies that the government should put in place? Because we'll talk about this here, unfortunately. We are lucky enough that probably we are not directly affected the way we are right now. But we are affected indirectly as a nation. 60 people dead, that is one too many. And correctly you've put it, it seems like, we're waiting for another statistics. Is the number gone up? How many people found missing? And the number goes up. But what are the policies that need to be put in place in black and white for that person out there to understand?
Yeah, thank you, Victor. And of course, before we discuss before we try to address on what should have been done or what we should do, I agree with Professor Omenya that the government needs to respond to the current issues. As a Kenyan, you have the right to shelter, the right to food. Children are now being told to wait until further notice when they'll go to school, the right to education. All those basic human rights have been severely affected by the ongoing disaster. So the first thing the government should do always, and that's why there's always a budget for disaster, for emergency. And I think I've heard the opposition leaders trying to ask the government to declare this a national disaster so that we can also get support from external organizations and external states. But I think our current government has said that it is able to deal with this issue. But Victor, as we speak, very many Kenyans are still suffering. People are sleeping in the cold. People are sleeping with no food. Children are not going to school. So what are the immediate responses which the government should do? And then now, if we talk of policies, we should be put in place to solve current issues and also future issues. Those policies must be properly dealt with. I would be a very happy Kenyan if today in the National Assembly there is an MP or a senator bringing a bill, a bill to discuss these national disasters. But you see the kind of bills which will be brought to the National Assembly is MPs asking for 1 billion to renovate their chamber and asking for a lot of money to do their own things. But the issues of Kenyans are not the priorities in the National Assembly. At the county level, the same should also be replicated, whereby at the county level, the debates which are there should be debates about what policy should we come up as Kenyan government, both at the national level and the county level, to address these issues of the disaster. The rains have been there since time immemorial, and they'll continue being there, and we pray to God that these rains continue. You know, the other day there was the climate conference in Dubai. Yes. And after a few months, you saw what happened in Dubai. Yeah. Now in Kenya also, I think we hosted another African summit here in Nairobi on issues of climate change. And we all know that the climate change issues will be there with us for quite some time. Yeah. So what policies, what government policies and laws should we come up with? My suggestion would be, Professor being an architect, I'm sure he knows that everything is about planning. Yes. If, for example, you build in a riparian land and the county authorities gives you the approval, the NEMA gives you the approval to do so, and you stay there, you build a residential apartment, you rent out, you get rental income, you even pay income tax, and the government does nothing. And when now the rains come and the rivers are trying to pass by where they were passing before, and you are being accused of building a riparian land, where was the government before? So I think it's a matter of government officials being responsible and trying to address these hard issues. You know, Victor, as a leader, you should give people what they need, not what they want. Because people may want things for short-term pleasures. But as a leader, as a government, the government should give the people of Kenya what they need. What people need is a safe and secure environment. They need a place where they will reside and nothing will happen to them. They need the right to make sure that they have adequate food at their disposal. So I think it's a matter of trying to know our priorities. Yes. If you go to our constitution, it is very clear on the basic human rights, which the government should ensure that Kenyans are given. And that's why I agree with the professor and ask ourselves, where is our government? Apart from a few meetings here and there, and politicians, that actually, Victor, politicians are now trying to capture and use this situation to advance a political agenda, you know, and that is so unfortunate when people are indeed suffering. So it's a matter of the government taking the responsibility of ensuring that the people of Kenya are safe. They are safe from these floods. They are safe because even at this stage, you start hearing of outbreak of some diseases like cholera. Yes. Yeah. Because if the other day you had in Nairobi National Orphanage, the very poisonous snakes were swept away by the rivers. We don't know where they are. And maybe they are somewhere. Allegations that some reptiles decided to have some tour of the city. Exactly. Yeah. So very soon you shall hear of other disasters. Leave alone now the issues of flooding. You may hear of cholera. You may hear of other disasters, which would have been prevented if proper measures were taken. But then now, as the Speaker of the County Assembly of Kitui, let me just ask you on behalf of your colleagues out there, Katisia, because now, don't you think this is a time that even the National Assembly should have a special sitting and come up with some of these kind of policies and even pass a budget that is, we call it supplementary budget, to act on this one, actually to compel the National Treasury to release that funds in as far as this is concerned? Don't you think it's possible? That it is very possible. Yes. It all depends on the government plans. And you know, at the county level, in very many county governments, and I think Professor said it correctly, that budget for disaster and for emergency is always there at the county level. Around 5% of the budget is always put there for why is it taking long for that money to be released? You know, Victor, the problem now, allow me, you know, when I was here, I talked about exchequer releases when I was here the last time. Yes. Because even on the issues of the doctors, and I know we shall discuss about doctors, it's all about when will the national government release the funds to the counties. Yes. So counties have actually no say in these matters. The issues of disaster, the current issue we are facing now, is at the national level. Yeah, is at the national level, and we have seen in the papers that the national government is asking for 10 billion, at least 10 billion in the supplementary 2 budget, which they are proposing to have in the National Assembly. And I wish that was done as a matter of urgency. And then, as they ask for that funding, that budget, we should know what is that money meant for. Because sometimes, Victor, and I must say there's a lot of honesty, because when there's a crisis, some people see an opportunity.
Yes, correct.
Yeah? Not an opportunity to assist, but an opportunity to loot, an opportunity to enrich themselves in an unjust manner. So I think it's a matter of us trying to be human, yeah, as leaders, and caring about our people.
Yes.
And if we put this budget, yes, what about tomorrow? And will this budget be sufficient for all Kenyans, countrywide, Victor? There are people in Turkana who may not have that limelight which other people in Nairobi and Maimayu are enjoying. People in Mandera, people in these remote areas of our country who may not have this limelight of the media. Yeah, but they are suffering.
Exactly.
So the government, maybe through the Ministry of Interior, which is all over, should ensure that our people are safe. That's the first thing. Our people must be safe. Yeah.
Okay.
And if we come up with a budget, can this budget go down to every Kenyan down there?
Where it's supposed to be.
Where it's supposed to be.
Prof, we've talked about this, but then when it comes to preparedness, the weatherman did his part, all right? He said, we are going to have here Idaya, thank God it has not affected the coastal line as it was projected. But think of it this way. The weatherman said that, guys, be prepared. Kenyans were prepared, we bought umbrellas and gumboots, and that's the much that we could do.
Right.
In terms of preparedness, because as we speak, no government, that money has not been released yet. Nobody can actually feel the hands of the government. But the question is, so at what point are we going to be starting to strike when the disaster is already here with us? The weatherman gave us that alert well in advance. It's now here with us, but you're still waiting for the money to go a certain process for it to be released. And then before you knew it, we are all done. It's now another dry season.
Yes, I think, Victor, this is one of the problems that I think I have, particularly with people in government. I really have no idea what they do with information. If we are looking at this particular disaster, the flooding, and every Kenyan will tell you, I'm telling you, even without research, we know the areas that would flood.
Yes.
We know the areas that flood. We know. Across the whole country. We know there are plains, we know those ones flood, we know areas, even here in Nairobi, that flood, we know all these low-lying areas. The local people know them. Even you, if you have a piece of land, you know whether it floods or it doesn't flood.
Yeah.
So it is not for lack of knowledge or lack of information. Within the city here itself, we know the areas that flood. We are very sure of the areas that flood. We even know why they flood. I think what I find very fascinating with the African people and the Kenyan people, particularly those in power, is that we proceed to do nothing. Absolutely nothing. We put our heads in the sand and we assume somehow that, yes, there'll be heavy rains, as has been promised by the Met, which is a government agency. If it was Alfred Omenya sending that message to government, government will say, look here, we don't just pick information from anybody.
Yeah.
But there's a government agency telling government and other government agencies that in fact we'll have heavy rains and we will actually have floods. But then the question that we're asking in terms of preparedness is what did government do with that information?
Let's take a break. That's a question that you're going to answer after this. You said that Kenyans, we don't take words seriously. And it just reminds me of Moses in the Bible when he went to the Israelites and he was talking to the Israelites. Israelites, disregarded him like, you old man, what are you talking about? We've been here for years, So Aaron was struggling to explain to them, but they were like, we are okay the way we are. Until now, it dawned on them that, hey, this guy was serious. Let's not be like the Israelites. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back with Professor Alfred Omenya and Wakili Kevin Kitisia.